Hello, I'm Mac. First off, I thank Patrick Easton for inviting me to speak today. I also thank Chelsea McEntee Smith for all she did to organize this conference. Second, welcome to Transcend the Great Resignation, a succession management disruption. Please note that the second line is a question. How many of your organizations have a detailed succession management plan that is based on holistic, integrated internal and external talent data? How many have actually deployed the plan? How many of you have had workforce and leadership resign? Do you know why? Where did they go? Before I go further, a few notes about me and my company, Clearview Management Resources. In 1973, I began my journey into HR talent management. I was in the U.S. Navy nuclear propulsion program from 1972 to 82 and was an instructor for about 4 years, training reactor and engine room operators and engineers through a 6-month, highly structured OJT system that included talent verification and micro-credentialing, and was integrated with a 6-month classroom program. We also utilized a preventative maintenance system to maintain all equipment. In 2008, I co-founded Clearview Management Resources and right away created a SaaS learning management program, TeamShare Hub. Immediately after, we used a succession management model I created in 1996 as the foundation designed for a holistic, fully integrated talent management system. In 2014, I was asked to conduct a study for the Ohio State University on manufacturing's need for skilled and highly skilled talent. I co-wrote a report in 2015. If you'd like a copy with a few attachments, please let us know. Based on the report, I co-founded the North Central Ohio Manufacturing Talents Alliance with Frank Gibson, and Clearview became a partner with the Central Ohio MEP and a member of the Central Ohio Manufacturing Partnership. The Great Resignation, a few pieces of info. Just an upfront note, numbers will vary dependent upon the source. For this slide, I used data from the U.S. Department of Labor. It's interesting that in the manufacturing industries, the number of resignations actually dropped. Also, if you look at it, the highest number of resignations were in the healthcare and high-tech industries. COVID definitely had an impact on these. In the healthcare industry, you think about the number of hours and the number of illnesses and death that took place on the job. In the high-tech world, look at the number of technology changes that became in demand for, especially when you went from suddenly you had people working at home away from work, you had high security needs relative to some of their work at times. You also had an increase in online buying, and so companies that did not have these online ordering systems suddenly were in demand of those, and on and on. So in the healthcare or the high-tech industry, you saw the number of hours going up, but you also saw a number of opportunities increasing, which means that suddenly the people who were in that industry could request a higher pay, they may leave to go to another job, and some of them even got into entrepreneurship. Other interesting information is the fact that the highest number of resignations was in the 30 to 45-year-olds. Not some people are thinking it was, the young kids. No, it was the 30 to 45-year-olds, some people rethinking their work life and the balance of life. And some of them had kids, and prior to the COVID situation, were paying very high child care dollars, and were paying a lot of money um, for transportation, and suddenly they were saving. And so they had to rethink, okay, what is it that I'm going to do? If I work from home, maybe I could do something else that I'd really like to do. In case you're wondering about other reasons for the Great Resignation, uh, baby boomers, a large number of them were ready to go anyway, and everything that was happening just kind of like threw them over the edge and said, I'm done, I've had it. You also have a large number of other jobs that ended up with high number of overtime hours because of others that were leaving. It put a greater burden on the people who are still staying there. High unemployment benefits, uh, jobs just disappearing. And so people suddenly started to say, oh, I'm in that industry, the other jobs are disappearing, maybe I should rethink this industry and this job. Many of you are saying, where did they go? Well, they went a whole variety of different places. We didn't keep track of all that data, but we ended up with some people just went home. You had some of the younger people went back home to mom and dad. You had some older people went to live with others. They combined homes and therefore combined costs. They went to school. You had a large number of people that were second guessing what it was that they were doing, what they really wanted to do, and so they went back to school, went to get retraining for other jobs. They changed industries, uh, particularly because they found that some industries you could work from home, and I'd rather do that. Bottom line, after you analyze all of this, the final outcome is that the numbers of people available for the workforce aren't there like they used to be. And some of this should have been foreseen. Corporations knew that at some point in time, the baby boomers were going to retire, and we should start our succession management programs. Some things to keep in mind for the future. Baby boomers were the number one generation in the workforce in 2019 with 72 plus million in the workforce. In 2020, they moved to number two at 70 million, and that number is just going to keep going down. COVID did three big things. It did a lot of things, but three big things. One, create a greater potential for work from home jobs. Two, create a big move from retail, face-to-face retail, to online purchasing. And three, a greater realization that segments of the supply chains need to be reshored. All of a sudden, when the other countries were shutting down and we weren't able to get parts of our supply chain, right, we saw some big delays that we're still seeing today. Technology changes will have greater and more accelerated change impact on talent requirements for the workforce. This data, combined with data about talent industry trends, is going to have greater impacts on talent management, including succession management. Monitoring and analyzing these changes will be a greater component of the HR talent management role. However, technology impacts on tools in a workplace hasn't happened as quickly as many predicted and as the education industry has moved. In other words, there's a number of students who have moved into this arena, of study and are expecting more high-tech tools in the workplace than those that actually exist. And they're looking at places like maybe some small manufacturers in their community, and they're thinking that maybe they'll exist there and that they can get jobs near home. And some of them just haven't moved in that direction. What does all of this mean to you? Where do you go from here? What's next? Well, there's two places to look for answers for this. One is inside your organization. There's a number of questions that you should be asking and that we'll explore in the coming slides. And two, outside your organization, what are the talent candidates, the potential workforce interested in, and how is that evolving, right? And what is your competition for the talent doing? And that competition is bigger than you think. The competition isn't just within manufacturing, but when you look at high tech, there's a lot of high tech talent that people are getting that they may have thought, okay, I can use that in manufacturing, but that's much of the foundation of the high tech talent can be used whether you work in manufacturing or you work in healthcare or you work in the IT world and on and on. What else is taking place within industry that may relate to what it is you are doing or going to do relative to the talent situation? Well, part of it is Industry 4.0. Industry 4.0 is about smart manufacturing. This includes integrated automation or robotics, artificial intelligence, which includes lots and lots of data and data tracking for data updates and trending. Manufacturing needs to do the same thing with talent. Move from emotional or gut feel leadership to data-driven leadership. When it comes to talent decisions, this should include accountabilities. Smart talent management begins with objective, detailed identification of the talents that your entire workforce brings to the table, your table. I don't care if you can't stand them or you love them. What talents do they truly have? What capabilities do they give you? In addition, you need to chart the data. Nothing brings data to life better than pictures, and that's what trend charts do. An interesting conundrum exists in most organizations. What part of the organization is the subject matter expert relative to the workforce? Is it HR, talent management, or is it leadership? What are the roles and responsibilities? A clear delineation. Practices, success measures, and accountabilities, etc. What is your model, your flow chart for HR, talent management, and leadership? Organizations, when it comes to people, are sometimes found searching for the magic, the one answer that takes care of it all, the one question that you should ask in interviews, the one leadership behavior that you should practice. It's just not true. Quit looking for the easy, the quick answer, the quick and easy answer. Talent management is a holistic, fully integrated performance solution. You need to draw the model. What is your model? What does it look like in your organization? Who plays which roles and responsibilities? For instance, does HR, talent management do all the research, design proposals, systems, then leadership buys into it, they disagree with parts of it. In the end, you end up with a system. Then you take that system and you break it down into the different elements, the different practices that need to take place, the measures of success. and then those get assigned to, this is HR, this is this level leadership, this is this level leadership, this is, and here's exactly what they do, and here's how the measures are taken, etc. You need to come up with a model, and everybody needs to agree as to how it's going to be done and who's going to do it and what measures are we going to take. What we've talked about in the last couple of slides is about designing, building systems, tracking the data within those systems. It's all internal to the organization, to your organization. What this is all about is, how do you build systems? How do you create an environment, systems, tools, processes, data, to create a culture within your organization that people want to keep working, and that the word spreads and people want to come and work for you. We already know that the talent numbers are going to be low, so everybody's going to be competing with them. Are you going to be a top competitor, or are you going to be a bottom competitor? What's the position you take? That's going to impact what you get for talent. Somewhere along the way, you got to do a little bit of marketing. We'll talk about that. So basically what we have on this slide is looking at the situation of good jobs to best jobs. Good jobs. Good jobs are those that have competitive pay. It's not big, it's not high, it's your basic pay. In order for somebody to say, yeah, I could work there, it's going to take care of my needs, of my family's needs. It's going to be a place that I could live stably, comfortably. All right? Do we have the good benefits, basic benefits? Do you have a couple of career paths? Do you have a career path that I know that I could follow for a number of years and be happy? Is it safe? Is the work safe? Is it secure? Am I going to be laid off every 3 months, every year? What about the tools? Are the tools up to date? Are the tools in good shape? Or are they going to keep telling me, yeah, well, we know that that tool isn't good. It hasn't been, but we got that on order. We're going to order that in the next budget year, the next fiscal year. So that's the basic system. That's good jobs. Then you can go to better jobs, and you move from competitive pay to competitive pay plus incentive pay. You move from basic benefits to basic benefits with 401ks. You've got some high-tech tools. I said something on a previous slide about the fact that there's a number of students that are taking high-tech training, right? They're in those CTE pathways, and they're looking forward to getting a job where they've got some high-tech tools. Do you offer that? That makes a job interesting. That makes a job, for some, fun. For some, it's an achievement. It's a mastery. Okay, so leadership continuity. You've got a pretty stable leadership system here that makes this a better job, right? As opposed to, you never know what they're going to say. When you talk to this person, they're going to say this. When you talk to this leader, they're going to take this position. They seem to always be arguing. They seem to not know what it is they're supposed to have as a position within the company. There's no continuity with the leadership. You're looking for a company where the business is sustainable. It's not always talking about how tough it is. What are we doing? The competition with our customers is high. Do we have a system where I get feedback? Believe it or not, people want performance feedback. If I can get some honest feedback, I know where I stand. I know what I need to do. I know enough that I can improve when I need to improve. I can stay when I need to stay. And then we get to the best jobs. The best jobs have the best tools. They've got robotics, they got cobotics, they got artificial intelligence. They have training systems that I get aligned with. I can look at it, look at the succession management plan and say, oh, here's what's going to happen in the coming years. These jobs are going to be available. These jobs are going to be available. Okay, what do I need to get to that point? I can look at my talents that I have, look at the talents that are required for the job, and then I can look up and find mentors inside the organizations, subject matter experts. I can find learning systems and pursue those to become qualified for those jobs that I want to get. I can get special micro credentials. I'd like to be on some committees, but they're looking for well, we don't really know. When they set up a committee, it's just kind of like, well, which parts of the company are impacted by this? Now we need somebody from there, somebody from there, somebody from there, because those different departments are impacted. But nobody says, well, we need somebody to do research. We need somebody that can write a proposal. We need somebody that can analyze data. These are called special micro credentials. I can do creative problem solving when I reach a certain level of subject matter expertise. I get included in things. You have all these different employee engagement practices, on and on. These are the best jobs, the jobs where people can find meaning, be empowered, can excel, the best jobs. Here's another look at this good jobs to best jobs. Sometimes you need a few different pictures to get the picture a little bit clearer in your mind. Here's some of the basics of a good job, right? And one of the things is, do they like it? You know, is this a job that I'm even interested in? Some people, owners, managers in some companies say, I don't understand. Why can't I get anybody to apply for a job here? You know, I need somebody that's got work ethics. That's the problem. They don't have work ethics. No, they don't like what it is you have there. They're not interested in those jobs. It has nothing to do with their work ethics. They just aren't interested in the jobs you have there. They've heard certain things. They've heard nothing. Okay? They don't like the location. The transportation is too difficult. The housing is difficult. That's something that I have been amazed at. That's a huge issue in the state of Ohio. Okay, I guess the baby boomers aren't retiring. They're not moving out to Florida. And so they're staying in their houses. Their houses aren't being made available to the younger generations. But I understand that in a number of counties across the whole state of Ohio, even some of the rural communities, it's just impossible to find housing. Pay, we've talked about. Benefits, time. What's the schedule like? You working, 50-hour weeks every week? You never know what the schedule is going to be, and they don't tell you until, 2 hours before the next shift that, oh yeah, by the way, we need you. So you can't count on anything. Career paths, it's interesting. I see some of these career maps and it's 2, maybe 3 jobs. And it's like manufacturing is used to the fact that people have done maybe 2 or 3 jobs for a whole career for 30 years. Well, I hate to tell you this, but a lot of the talent today is looking for more options. Okay, and so you need to really explore, how do we make the career paths interesting? I'm not saying that they're saying that they have to go, 2 jumps and be the CEO, although there have been a few that have been delusional and made those comments. But make it interesting. What all can they do in their career where they keep growing, they're achieving, they're mastering different things? Okay, safety, security, culture, feel. So you see these things relative to a good job. We've talked about some things relative to better jobs. Why don't you fill these out? What would you find to be a better job? What would you find to be the best jobs? Do they have those where you're working? Another factor that moves a job from good to better to best is something called employee engagement. This is a concept that relates to how motivated and committed is an employee to their job, to their corporation. Employee engagement. There's a number of different studies that have been done by organizations such as Blessing White, Towers Watson, Deloitte, on and on, about employee engagement. Some of these studies show numbers such as, if you look at the average organization, only 29% of the employees are fully engaged, fully motivated and committed. 19% are disengaged. They're what I call the virtual employee, right? The body's there, but the mind and will left years ago. And then the bulk of the employees are in the 52 percentile, right? Partially engaged, not fully engaged. The difference between a partially engaged and a fully engaged employee is that a fully engaged employee, because of their motivation and commitment, is 24% more productive than the partially engaged. Just think about how much more productive they are than the disengaged. One of the things we got to learn to do is identify where the disengaged are and do what we can to improve their engagement. And if they don't, then we remove them because they have an impact on the rest of the workforce. If you've got people that aren't doing their jobs, the other people see that they're not doing their jobs, then they see that management isn't doing its job in dealing with them. And they then move from fully engaged to partially engaged or partially engaged to disengaged. Okay, so what are the different factors that play a role in an employee's engagement, their motivation and commitment? There are what we call the 8 tenets of employee engagement. We have accomplishment. Do they get the chance to reach business objectives? Are they seriously considered for promotions? Can they submit ideas and have them approved? Can they achieve educational goals, certifications? Can they play a part of committees? On and on. That's accomplishment. Can they see? These are people that love to accomplish things. Alignment. Some people really need to be aligned with what's going on. What's it take for me to go from this position to this position? Why are we doing things this way? Where they get a complete understanding of how every element of their job and how well they perform each element influences the organization's achievement of mission, goals, and objectives. If you look at it, there ought to be a tiering from the top to the bottom, right? What is the overall mission and objectives of the corporation? And then how are the divisions aligned to help the corporation achieve its mission? And then how are the department's mission and objectives aligned with the divisions, aligned with the corporate, all the way down to jobs. What is it that my job does to help the department, division, corporation achieve its objectives? Align me. Some other alignment factors are explaining organization direction changes. Do I understand process requirements and when we're making a process change, why we're doing that? Do you provide coaching for me to help me to understand things? If I do something and it's not correct, do I get an immediate, timely confrontation and correctional action taking place so that I can learn what it is that I really need to be doing and fix it? Authority and influence is another of the 8 tenets. If I'm a subject matter expert, are you going to give me some level of authority? Might I be the subject matter expert relative to these responsibilities of our job description? I'm a subject matter expert and I understand these processes, procedures. Might I be the process and procedures sponsor? And so that when a change comes in about something else, I'm asked to review these processes and procedures to see what changes need to be made with those in order to align them with the others. If I meet the criteria for being a subject matter expert, might I get special authorities, special responsibilities, such that I might be a mentor for an apprenticeship program. I would be engaged in identifying hiring selection criteria. I would be engaged in identifying different scenarios, questions to pose for candidates. I might even be asked to be an interviewer as a part of the selection process. Some of the others are fellowship. How many of you realize that some people like to go to work just so that they can talk with other people? Sometimes you realize that that's all they want to do, but fellowship is a part of employee engagement, motivation, and commitment. Mastery, the fact that they get the chance to be the subject matter experts and all that goes along with that. The fact that I get shown some respect on the job, that if I do perform higher than normal, that I will receive rewards. And rewards are not always monetary, all right? The fact that because of the alignment and everything else that goes along with this, all the data that you provide to me, that I have some self-determination. I can identify, here's where I want to go in this company. I go out and gain the talents, the expertise, and if I do that, then I will get some career changes. As you can see, employee engagement can play a very large role in taking a job from a good job, a basic job, to a better job, to a best job, a place where you really want to work. You see lots of opportunities, you get empowered, you have the opportunity for growth. This is a place where people will want to work. Okay, one more slide relative to good to better to best jobs. Leadership continuity. How reliable is leadership within your organization? How likely is it that you can go from one leader to another leader to another leader and they will say the same things about the corporate values? That they will, when they illustrate respect for people, they'll be in the ballpark of each other. How likely is it that you'll find individual leaders to be reliable from one day to the next day, from one employee to the next employee, that there's this leadership continuity? This is something that's called a trust factor. Is it something that I know that I can trust in this organization? Is that leadership is going to be in the same ballpark? If I ask one leader what it takes to succeed, and then I ask another one, and then I ask another one, that we're going to be in the same ballpark. It's a trust factor. Well, let's look at a little bit of this. Okay, let's look at terms used. Do leaders use the same terms? For instance, one of the things you've heard along the way is that a good, better, the best job will show the employees respect. Well, what does that mean? I've heard that used a lot. I heard it used by other presenters today, right? Employees need to be shown respect. What is that? Is that the fact that you say, please, thank you? You use my right name when you see me? You hold the door open for me? You say, excuse me? You invite me to meetings to hear what's going on? Or do you take respect to another level? Respect is showing me that you appreciate the verified expertise that I have in my job. That if you have a problem, and it's a problem relative to something on my job, something with a piece of equipment, something with a procedure, that you will actually engage me, listen to my analysis, listen to my ideas for change. Now that's showing respect for who I am and what I do, my capabilities on the job. That's true respect. Corporate values is another area. I've seen situations where companies have these corporate values, but when you read down through them, only maybe one or two has anything to do with employees, right? How you value employees. They're frequently more about how you value customers. Are the customers important? Oh, yeah, they're the ones that buy your products and keep you in business. I get it, okay? But employees are the ones that make those products to the level that the customer will buy them. Okay, so you should have as many corporate values about being a part of the workforce as you do for customers and community. What should happen is periodically, once every year, once every couple of years, the leadership team gets together and conducts a value by value analysis as to, okay, what's important about these values? What do they actually mean? What do they mean in words and behaviors? What leaders say out there, what they actually do, what we measure, right? If every leader says the same thing, this is what this value is about, this is what we should see, this is how we will measure it, then we've got consistency. We've got leadership continuity, which makes the place a better place to work because you can trust that leadership is aligned across the board. Okay, so I think that you all have a pretty good feel for the different elements of jobs, what makes a job a good job versus a better job versus a best job. You can look at it from a number of different angles. You can put together a list that you truly can aspire to achieve, that you truly can set up measures for in your corporation. Okay, now you sit down and you say, here's all that we should see. We want to be a better job. We want to be a good job. We want to be the best job. Where do we actually fall right now? Are we a good job? Are we a better job? Are we a best job? Or are we in trouble and we're below good? What level of talent do we want to compete for? Is that at the best level or is it lower? You need to do a discover, define, design, develop, deploy on where you fall relative to good jobs. I'm not going to go through all these questions. These are just a sampling of questions, other questions that you should be asking. It takes a combination, looks at the different things that we've looked at um, from data, talent data, through the good jobs. Um, what are we doing? What's our actual situation? These are just a few questions that you might want to entertain and create more questions so that you can ask the rest of the HR talent management crew back at your place of work so that you can engage leadership as a part of this analysis of where are we and where do we want to be. Here's a problem solving change management process that we designed. We use it, we recommend that managers, leaders, HR, talent management uses as a part of everyday problem solving change management. And to use it with every single problem that comes up. Obviously, the more detailed, the more complex a problem that you come into contact with, right? The more time it's going to take, the more time you will spend on each of these different parts of this process. The simpler the situation, the less time you'll spend. But we recommend that no matter what the situation is, that you be consistent. I don't care if an employee comes up to you that you know and makes a claim about somebody else and what they did, you should use this process real quickly. Don't jump in and you know you like them, so obviously they're telling the truth. And so, okay, I'll go take care of that person for you. No, you go through the D to the eighth process. Okay, let's define what it is that you're telling me you have, who all was involved, what exactly are you saying happened, why do you think that this happened, what did you do, how did you deal with it. What you're doing is you're doing a quick define of what's the problem. Then you say, okay, so you say that so and so was involved and so else observed it, and here's what happened, and you got all the notes. Okay, I need to have meetings with those people, and then we'll get back together. So then you do the same thing with them. You ask them to define it. You ask on and on. Then you put together the whole team and you go through a more in-depth discovery, right? Because when you did those defines, you're getting individuals' perceptions of things. Now you put it through a full discovery. You then redefined. Okay, they said this, they said this, they said this. We did the excuse me. We did the discover with all of them, and here's what we actually found. Now, let's go through a design. What do we need to do to resolve this situation? What do we need to do with the procedure? What do we need to do with the tool? What do we need to do with this process? Go through the design, the develop, deliver, deploy, dissect. What that dissect means at the end is, okay, the best laid plans of mice and men, right? So we put it through this process, and then we develop this, and it's working mostly, but not everything is getting done. So you dissect it after you put it into place and work out all the bugs, basically. Okay. Okay, we've spent a lot of time talking about analyzing what it is that you have for a place of work. Is it good, better, best? And so you do a lot of work to improve it, to create a great reputation, but the reputation only goes as far as the word of mouth goes. Part of the word of mouth is relationships. What do you have for relationships within the community from which you want to find additional sources of talent? Okay. What do you have with schools? What do you have with teachers, with parents? How many of you realize very deeply that parents have a huge impact on what their children look for in interests, in the future of jobs, of what they do in life? How many of you realize that relative to manufacturing, that not all parents have great images of manufacturing? I grew up in Pittsburgh. Please don't hold that against me. Grew up in Pittsburgh, and I still remember the steel mills shutting down and 70,000 plus workers put out of jobs over not too many years. Okay, so you've got to overcome some of those things, and it's amazing how long a bad reputation will last. You got to do like 10 good things to overcome one bad thing. So you got relationships with schools. If you look at all these are all sources of talents. Okay, you did all this to improve what you do inside your place of business, how you treat employees, how you make it a really great place to go work, right? To go to achieve, to go to empower yourself, to go to get more opportunities, to experience more interests, more accomplishments, etc. But now you got to put the word out. You got to find sources of those talents. Schools are a great source of talents. Talking to parents in the communities, talking to community leaders, your chambers, your rotaries, your all those different organizations that community leaders participate in, even the political ones, okay? So what are your relationships with schools, teachers, parents? And why do I pick teachers as opposed to superintendents? Because the teachers are the ones that have the closest relationship with the students, and the students are your future workforce. Okay? How many of you realize that it's between the ages or the grades of 4 to 6 that students actually start to create interest in subject matters, in activities, in outcomes, those things that end up getting associated with, hey, I'd like to do that for a job. Okay? What if they don't even know about you? It's amazing. I was just talking to somebody who is basically a career counselor in a school district, and she was even saying how she got the job and she started doing work with students. She started to explore what all existed out there for different jobs, and she'd been in the community her whole life. And all of a sudden she was like, I didn't even know that this business existed down the road. I didn't know it was out here. I spent 10 years in the Navy, and we traveled all over the country. Every time we went to a new place, we'd say, okay, what all is here? And let's go find out about it. We'd explore different historical things, different businesses that were very creative, and it was amazing. We'd go back, we'd go to to church on Sunday, we'd go to some event with some friends, and we'd be saying, hey, wow, we went down and we saw this that's in your community, and you must really love this. And I can't tell you the number of times that the people in the community said, huh, what's that? Or, yeah, we heard about it, but we don't even really know what it is. We figured someday we'd go there and learn about it. It's amazing the number of people that grew up in the community that have no idea about all the businesses that exist in the community. So you wonder why people aren't standing in line to get a job with you. They don't even know you exist. Relationships with schools, beginning with teachers, the ones that see the students every day, parents and community leaders. This is called jobs PR, public relations. This is something that's called a mind map that illustrates the 5 areas or 5 communities of interest that have an impact on manufacturing, or vice versa, manufacturing has an impact on these different communities. I don't know how many of you are aware of this, but manufacturing, for every manufacturing job in your plant, 1.8 other people are employed. All right, yes, that's right. The people that own the housing, the people that own the dental offices, the doctor's offices, the grocery stores, the gas stations, the people that work in the government offices for which your job pays taxes and employs them. You shut down a factory of 100 workers and 180 other people lose full-time or more lose part-time jobs. Okay? There are a lot of communities of interest out there. They are also organizations that, if you learn more about what they do, you will find that they can do things to help you do things like training, sourcing people. How many of you realize that in the Department of Job and Family Services, they have Veterans Affairs, right? And so you can talk to them about who are the veterans who are in the community that do not have jobs that you can look to get resumes from. They can also help you learn to read veterans' resumes, because there's a lot of employers that don't have a clue. There's something called transferable skills. And what that means is, I have a buddy, okay, who was a guided missile launcher operator for a nuclear vessel. All right, actually, it wasn't a nuclear vessel. It was for a vessel. I think it was a destroyer. And I got a little carried away there. Anyway, he put on his resume that he operated a guided missile launcher. And I heard some employers talking about this, and they said, wow, that's cool. And then threw the resume in the trash, because, like, unfortunately, we don't operate too many guided missile launchers in our place of business. So what do I need somebody like that? So I asked the guy who was the guided missile launcher, I said, okay, we need to change your resume. I said, tell me, what all did you do in this? Did you have any automatic controls that you had to set up? Any data systems that you had to align? Any maintenance that you had to perform on the piece of equipment? Any analytics that you had to do? What kind of data did you have about it? Guess what? To every one of those questions, he had a yes, I had something like that relative to this piece of equipment that I had to work on every day. I said, that's what you want to put on your resume. Those are transferable skills. When you get to a manufacturer, those are high-tech skills. The fact that you could learn those puts you into a position that they want, because learning capabilities is a talent, is a competency that employers are looking for. So you can go down to your local job and family service, I almost said job and family service dealer. Anyway, if you look at all these different things on here, all these different entities, these all play a role relative to your performance with talent. You'd be amazed at the different places where you can get grants, where you can set up apprentice programs. I found out that there's Apprentice Ohio, which is a part of JFS, Job and Family Services. In addition, Job and Family Services can get funding for structured OJT, and they even have people that can do OJT. Or, for instance, our firm sets up structured OJT, but we can get it funded for you through the Job and Family Service department. Anyway, you get a chance, go through these, look to see what all exists, and learn more about them. You'd be amazed at the number of grants that exist out there and people don't have a clue about. A number of people that don't know about tech cred, that don't know about on and on. Okay, this is a mind map. Pay attention, find out who these different entities are. They all play a role relative to your business. Learn more about them, learn what they can do for you. And sometimes they can get you money to help you get services from somebody else on this map. A few other things that you may want to explore doing. Their employment fulfillment options. One of the things you may want to do is that there are certain talents that are harder to find. Okay, there's high competition for those types of talents. What you need to do is identify where those talents exist within your organizations and then look to see, can I reorganize the job, right? So let's say I've got 10 people with these talents that are doing 10 different jobs. Okay, what if they're only using those talents 20% of the time, 30% of the time, 50% of the time? Let's say, worst case, they're using it 50% of the time. I got 10 people doing it. What if I set up the jobs to where they're using those hard to find talents 100% of the time? Now I only need 5 people with those talents. You see what I'm doing there? You reorganize the time that they use the hard to find talents. Okay, so that you need fewer people with those talents. As things change, because right now it's the talents in the marketplace, right? If you're an employee with those talents, it's your marketplace. You can say, go to the highest bidder. Okay, but someday that's going to turn around when all those people who resigned decide what they want to do and they go back to work. They get their training, they whatever, they go back to work. Now all of a sudden you can change the jobs. Okay, but now you know then that you can do that to make most use of those talents. All right, degrees versus competencies. There's another thing. If your jobs are the ones that are hardest to find or because you're requiring a certain degree, maybe you don't need that degree. Okay, we had amazing people in our nuclear operations classes. We took 17 to 20 some year old kids and turned them around into the safest reactor operators in the world with 6 months of classroom training and 6 months of prototype structured OJT training. And they didn't have degrees. All right. What is it that the job actually requires? Okay. Put the competencies. If it just so happens that those competencies are covered by a degree, then hire people with those degrees. But if it doesn't, then hire competencies. Look at the makeup of your workforce versus the makeup of the community. Rethink traditional sources. Women in manufacturing weren't typically found to go together dozens of years ago. All right, not that they couldn't, but that's just what had happened in society. I'm not justifying it, I'm just saying that is what had happened. Okay, you can find the same things with different, when you get into races, colors, national origin, the same kind of thing. Start to rethink the makeup of your workforce versus the makeup of the community. Do you have certain populations that you have left out and that you should rethink what you're leaving out? Okay, next one, schools, work projects. One of the things, there's CDME, for example, the Center for the Design of Manufacturing Excellence at a part of OSU's College of Engineering. Otterbein, The Point. What they have is they have places within their organizations where businesses can actually set up offices and actually set up and use the equipment that's in there, use the students, use the grad students that are in engineering, etc., to do work for them, to design, redesign products, to redesign production systems, to analyze what high-tech equipment could be used instead of labor. they can help you with this. There's a thing called Capstone Projects that you should examine with colleges and schools near you. Even like Tri-Rivers Career Center, um, Horizon Science Academy, these are CTE schools. And Tri-Rivers Career Center up in Marion, for instance, companies have gone in there and taken work projects to where they'll give the students a project and ask them to do a redesign of a process, the redesign of a tool that's used. And they don't have to pay for that. Okay, they get the talents from someplace else. Imagine this: CTE schools have IT pathways, they have interactive media arts pathways. Perfect people to sit down and redesign your websites. These are things that you need to explore. What schools exist in your area? What do they have for CTE pathways and otherwise? Putting together an apprenticeship system. Use schools. Use on and on. Explore high-tech technology, automation. Yesterday, no, we're not going to do it. That's not possible. Today, you got a choice. If you can't find the labor, what are you going to do? Well, look at high technology. And sometimes you can use schools, or you can use some of the automation institutes. There's the ARM Institute in Pittsburgh. It's a part of, or was a part of, the Carnegie Mellon College. And you can take your scenario to them. There's Ramtech. Take it to the Ramtech program, which is a part of the state of Ohio's education system. Explore alliances, collaborations, sector partnerships. There's the manufacturing sector partnership system that was set up by OMA. Actually, it's interesting. I did that study for Ohio State University about manufacturing's need for high-tech talents. As part of our study, we had a report. The report, I told you already, sorry, the report recommended the setup of alliances. That's where you have the 5 communities of interest and a multitude of manufacturers. The concept is power in numbers. The other concept is learn from each other. So you have a network of manufacturers, a network of other resources to get together in these alliances, these collaborations, these sector partnerships, and they learn from each other. They also collaborate with each other on education programs, on retention programs, on a variety of things. Get together with others. Not commiserate, get together, collaborate, create things. This slide examines the different opportunities for expanding career paths, for expanding learning, expanding growth, expanding self-actualization of employees, your workforce. The traditional career paths are you've got 2 or 3 jobs within one primary job path. So you have a similar job. So maybe it's a welding technician, and you have a welding technician 1, a welding technician 2, etc. So you have opportunity for growth in there, going from one level to another level to another level. You also have some scenarios where you have a foundation or core job, but then you might be able to break off into 2 different career paths that use some of the same foundational talents. Then you also have going over to making a lateral move over into another job. So along the way, your job works with another job. You see that job and you like it. You like that pathway, and so you work with subject matter expertise in the other job path. You work with the talent development group in your company. You get aligned with what are the talents that you need versus the talents you have, and what kind of different learning activities you can do to move over to the other one, and you make the moves and go over to the lateral move. Then obviously there's always, you spent a few years there, you've gained experience, talents, understanding of what takes place in the organization. You work with people that are in management and leadership. You pick up a mentor, whether you just do it on your own or you work with somebody in the talent development department, and you start to learn the management and leadership skills that you need. And at some point in time, you learn enough of them, a vacancy becomes available, you apply for the job, and they hire you. This is something, note, leadership management. You want to talk about good to better to best, is quit hiring management and leadership from the outside. The workforce sees that. You should align your workforce with the talent needs of the management and leadership pathways, and then make the learning activities available to your workforce, and then hire from within. Okay, so you have the primary job path, you have a lateral job path, and then you have the management and leadership job path. Well, here's another thing to do. Set up subject matter expert system. In other words, establish criteria for who becomes a subject matter expert relative to each job, relative to each responsibility within those jobs, relative to specific tools that are used to perform those jobs, procedures that are used. Set up a subject matter expert micro-credentialing system so that they can become the subject matter experts in there, and then those subject matter experts are used to perform other special tasks, duties that the corporation could really gain from. In addition, you increase the motivation and commitment, that thing called employee engagement, right? So subject matter experts is another career path, let's say, okay? Then another thing is special micro credentials. Special micro credentials such as team leaders, project managers, research specialists, data and statistics authorities, business writer professionals, solution transformation experts, high technology automation experts, workflow processes and procedures, on and on. These are special micro certifications or micro credentials that can be used for a variety of things along the way. In addition to aligning the workforce better with what all is required up around the top, making committees, teams more productive. Again, instead of just making sure that you have somebody from each different area that's impacted by a situation, you also make sure that the team has these different talents that are needed to make them more productive, and you set them up into very specific credentials with criteria, things that they have to learn, that they have to have experience with, that they have to, on and on and on. Okay? These, in addition, some of these, like, think about who's a good supervisor candidate. Then who's better than to have somebody who already has a team leader certification or credential, plus they have experience working with different committees in team leader roles. Okay, so use both to make your committees more successful and for succession management. Okay, that covers it. So you do those things, you have In addition to the regular career paths, you have the subject matter experts and the special micro credentials. You've just dramatically impacted the career paths that you have available for future workforce. This is just another slide that has some illustrations for you. You can see from this pyramid, one of the things is if you go up the right side, this is the traditional way of going up to the top, right? A career map. You start off as a frontline employee, you move up to frontline management, up to middle management, up to senior management, up to top management. Well, what this offers is another way you move up within the same jobs within special certifications. And so you stay in the job, you become a subject matter expert over responsibility 1, 4, and 5. Then you move up and you become a subject matter experts relative to responsibilities 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And so you're an overall subject matter expert for a job. And then you move over because let's say you gain another certification, you gain a team leader certification. So now all of a sudden you not only have all the technical skills those subject matter experts want, but now you have people skills. And so now you move over into middle management. You see this kind of format in a number of other organizations where you have people that are recognized as experts along the way relative to technical parts of jobs, specific parts or responsibilities of jobs. And then at some point in time, they also have the people leadership talents. Um, they gain that through other certifications, other experiences, that kind of thing. It's a great option, again, an expansion of what is the traditional career pathing, career mapping. Here's another illustration as to how SMEs can be engaged by a corporation. What are the different things that they can do? Okay, yeah, subject matter expert sounds great. Whoop-de-doo. What do they really do for a corporation? Well, people become subject matter experts about jobs, about processes, about equipment, about tools, on and on. They become the go-to people relative to the design and redesign of workflow, processes, procedures, high-tech automation teams. You can go down the list here. This change came in because of some safety requirement. How does that impact the job? You go to the subject matter experts and say, how will this change impact the job? What changes will you need to make to what parts of the job? Talent growth verification. People go to training all the time, but there's very seldom any verification that they got anything out of it other than a sore butt from sitting around all day in a classroom. How many of you have actual verification that people got something out of the training? Use the SMEs to put them through different scenarios, different situations, different exercises to demonstrate that they actually got talent out of that training program. Use them in onboarding, structured OJT, etc. We have a thing that we call what if mind drills. Imagine being on a nuclear submarine 600 feet below the surface of the ocean, you do your rounds and then everybody's, your watch rounds, and then people go and hang out around the reactor control room and they start to quiz each other. What would you do if that alarm went off? What would you do if that ship service turbine generator just shut down? What would you do if? Imagine using subject matter experts to create what if mind drills relative to their job. What are the 10 most common things that happen on the job in a day? Right? You write what if mind drills about those. What are the things that are the most dangerous things that could happen? You write what if mind drills. What would you do if? And those are used as kind of like quizzes, scenarios along the way as you're developing the talent, as you're putting them through structured OJT. In addition, you could use those as a part of the hiring process. Tell me, what would you do if, boom. Sometimes you could even use those in teaching the basic fundamental talents, of getting to work on time. Okay, so you think you're gonna, you're all set up to get to work on time. What would you do if your car didn't start? What would you do if the ride that was supposed to pick you up didn't pick you up? What would you do if, okay, what if mind drills? A unique tool. I told you that we have a couple of software. We developed a talent management software and a learning management software. As a part of the talent management software, one of the things to do is you have the talent architecture. This is where you define the different talents that you need for the jobs, the different talents that people have. You can even use it to identify, to create criteria for the micro credentialing. What talents do you need to have to be a team leader, to be a project manager, to be a research specialist, to write plans, to on and on and on. And you set up all this criteria, and then people know they're aligned with exactly what are the different criteria you need to have, the different competencies that you need to have to get these credentials. Yeah, I get the frustration. I get the concept that you're looking for talent. You need somebody to show up for the job. Well, do all the different things that we talked about, including the PR with the community, the relationships with the different parts of the community. In other words, you set up a place that people will want to work for perhaps a lifetime. And at the end of it, still be doing interesting things. Okay, and you figure out ways to establish relationships with different organizations and market all that it is you're doing. And believe me, if you're in a relatively small community, the workers that you have that work for you in these kinds of scenarios, they're going to talk about you. They're going to talk about how great it is to work there, and the word will spread. Think about this. I've heard this statement used too many times. We just need someone who will show up for work, has work ethic, and can pass a drug test. What does this say to potential employees? We just need someone, educators, parents. It kind of sets the bar low. It kind of says, we need anything that can walk and talk and breathe at the same time. Why would I want my kid to work at a place that's all they're looking for? Stay away from that language. Set your bar higher and talk about the great things that you need and what it is you're doing in your place of work. Okay, that's all I have for you today on this subject. Now let me walk you through a few slides as to who we are. We, as in Clearview Management Resources. The first thing I'll tell you is that our goal is to help businesses and their employees realize a greater potential. We look at holistic, fully integrated performance solutions. Okay, we're not going to find you that magic, that simple answer, and we know that. Okay, but we're going to build you holistic, fully integrated performance solutions that will last and that you will learn how to make them happen, how to make modifications to them after we're gone. Okay, we're what we call talent systems engineers. We're about smart systems. We believe in data. What does the data tell us? What data should we have and what should it tell us? Okay, we were about making smart talent decisions. We're about providing tools that organizations can use to build their own systems, to maintain the systems that we provide. We're about smart communications. Remember back there when we talked about alignment, that one of the engaging tools used to create workers that are more motivated, and committed is aligning them with a number of different aspects of the job. That's communications, including, right, the what could be considered an ugly situation where you have to confront a problem. How do you do that and do that in a constructive way in which the worker walks away and say, wow, I'm glad they told me that I did that wrong. One of the things we use a lot of is illustrative models. This is a model that looks at succession management. I told you about this, that I created this in 1996. This ended up being the foundation design for a talent management software system, or it's called Talligence, Talent Intelligence. You've seen this one before. This is our look at the whole world of human resources and talent management. It's very important for organizations, for the human resource talent development function, to be able to look at it holistically, integrated. You can't do any one of these things alone correctly and have a good system. Um, it's kind of like, what if you do a great job of selecting people, but then you do a lousy job of orientating them, onboarding them, and then developing them for their job, and on and on. You can take all these things and say, what if I don't do a good job of this? What if we don't do a good job of this? But we did a great job at this. We have the greatest tools in the world, but leadership stinks. It doesn't work. It's all integrated. Design one for yourself. What is it that you can all agree to fits as a part of your system? We've talked about data. Data is an integral part. If you don't have data, it's just fake news. This is about job descriptions, all the different elements that make up a job, from the laws that impact the different parts of the job, the policies that impact the procedures, processes, what exactly are the outcomes that you should be getting, what are the tools that are used, and on and on. These are all the details of a job, a truly thorough job description. These then are used to do things such as designing talent development systems, the training as to what are the measures, and conducting performance management relative to it. All this information in here, including like discretionary authority, is a part of it. Those are all used to really tell you the true market value of the job. If you don't have all this data, you're missing stuff that tells you what the job is really worth or not worth. This is all about talent development systems, the tools used to design talent systems, design courses. As I told you, we have a course manual that lists over 60 courses that we have designed. We have developed specific jobs training programs, and the tools that go along with it. Basically, qualification manuals, structured OJT. We wrote an national award-winning mentoring system. And believe it or not, mentoring just became a part of a program that OMA put out. And we designed a national award-winning mentoring program, so we know it. We have the training system for it, for both the mentors and the proteges. In here you'll see some glimpses of talent development methodologies, of talent development checklists. It takes a system to build learning systems. As I mentioned earlier, we have designed two SaaS systems, basically software as a service. One's a talent intelligence or talent management system, and the other is TeamShare Hub. I did them reverse what you see here, is a learning management system. This learning management system we use to develop a number, probably 50, 60 different organizations. They can share in their learning at a certain level and then have very special private classes. It does the scheduling, it makes assignments, it on and on. This is also good for creating a communications tool that can be used for a variety of other functions. We have designed this also to be used by associations for project management, learning management, on and on. This is a slide with a couple of glimpses of a few of the pages of our talent management software. The middle one shows some of the reports that you can get from it. Again, all of the software that we have, we've designed it so that it can be modified to fit your needs. We're not looking at a one-size-fits-all. We look at taking what we have and using it as a starting point and then modifying it and making it into something that you're actually going to use and benefit from. These are a couple of competency models that we've designed for different jobs. One that came out of the report on the manufacturing study that did for Ohio State University, the one on the right, the manufacturing industry. And what it shows is starting at the bottom where you have core work styles, traits that you want to have developed for the job. This is like work essentials, and then foundation, knowledge, skills, and competencies, two different levels of that. And then it moves into more specifics. It starts to move into more specifics about this job and the equipment that's used on the job, etc. The other one is relative to different levels of competencies that are required in finance industry jobs. So these are just a couple of examples of how we can take and design job descriptions, training programs, etc., career mapping, pathways, subject matter expert systems, on and on. Thank you. Okay, the next two slides you've already seen. One is all about subject matter expert systems, and the next one then is all about D to the eighth, a problem solving and transformational methodology, basically a change management system that we use and design for corporations. In addition to the study that we did for Ohio State University, which you see a couple of, the talent pipeline came out of that study, and the communities of interest mind map came out of that. That we've also done individual corporation studies. We did one for an engineering firm. We did one for a finance company. So we can come in and do an analysis. We come in and do an analysis of whether or not you're a good, better, or great employment, place of employment. What kind of talents are you going to attract? What are the things that you need to improve? So we can do those kinds of things for you. So there you have it. If you have any questions, please call. You can also, my email address is Michael, Michael, .McVey at clearview-mgt.com, just like you see our website address on it. Just put michael.mcvey at in front of the clearview-mgt.com, or give us a call. Any questions, please let us know. We love to have you call, and I promise that the fees don't start as soon as we answer the phone. Okay, so anyway, thank you. It's been a pleasure. Again, I want to thank Patrick and Chelsea for the help in getting here today. Take care.